So today we are starting this new unit, Sri Isopanisad. So I seek your blessings so that I can speak. It will benefit you and me. So Upanishads, they are final conclusions of Vedas. This co-host means
Prabhuji, I have enabled co-host for.
no, you this admitting thing,
I'll take care of it.
okay. Yes. Meaning Upa is near. Nishadi means being. So the Upanishads are the scriptures which help one to go closer to God. Scriptures which take us closer to God, they are called as Upanishads. And the another meaning is one who sits near to preceptor and gets the knowledge of Supreme. So that knowledge is called as Upanishad, which is gained by going closer to spiritual master. So these are the of Upanishad. So there are around 108 Upanishads are there, and out of them the 11 are very prominent, on which the commentaries are written by various acharyas. So they are Isha, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Mukunda, Taittreya, Mundak, Taittreya, Aitreya, Chandu, Brihadaranyaka, and Shetashwar. So the Upanishad, which is known as Isopanisad, it is the last chapter of Shukla Yajurveda, and it contains within the Vajasneya Samhita. So because of this, it is sometimes known as Vajasneya Samhita Upanishad. So this Upanishad defines 5 truths: Ishwar, Jeev, Prakriti, Kal, and Karma. So these truths are subject matter of Bhagavad Gita also. So sometimes we see this Upanishad has been referred and repeated by the great, devotees of the Lord. So this Isopanisad, which is very famous, has some roots which are visible in Srimad Bhagavatam. So in Canto 8, Chapter 1, 9 to 16, there are the prayers of Manu to Lord Yajnapati, where he is speaking the essence of Isopanisad. And some verses are exactly matching to the Isopanisad. So this is the verse number 10, which is matching with the Isopanisad first verse. Atmavasmidam vishwam yatkinchit jagatam jagat tena taktena bhunjita magudha kasya sviddhan. So, like this, the Isopanisad has a broad applicability in the Vedic realm. So, Prabhupada has taken this Isopanisad for Bhakti Shastri. He personally recommended that one should learn this, Isopanisad. So the introduction which we have for Upanishad, so that is one lecture which Prabhupada gave on October 6th in 1969. So here he broadly mentioned that how Vedas are, they meant for uplifting the people. There are so many universities are around which proclaim that they are giving knowledge, but actually none of them are giving a spiritual knowledge. Only Vedas are a genuine place where one can find the knowledge. So, how one should find that knowledge that Prabhupada described here? And by obtaining this knowledge, what one gets the benefit? So, to understand Vedas, one has to have firm faith in the words of God. So, Vedas are apaurushya. They are not written by any human being. They are directly the words transcribed by Vasudev of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then Prabhupada goes on describing that how these words are perfect words. What man-made philosophy has 4 defects. So he compares the Vedas are like a mother who takes us towards father. And then Prabhupada establishes 3 pramanas, Pratyaksha, Anuman and Shabda. So the Vedic knowledge is a Shabda Pramana. And this is given by spiritual master who is in Parampara. So directly we get the knowledge from the source, who is Supreme Personality of Godhead. From him we get the knowledge. So Prabhupada is comparing here the Vedas are like a jackfruit, and the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, they are like a inside jackfruit. The real fruit is there. You have to cut it and then open it, and then there will be inside a sweet jackfruit will be there. So that way, the whole essence of all Vedas compared to Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam is a natural commentary to Vedanta Sutras. So like that, Prabhupada compares the Vedic knowledge is for the benefit of mankind. And one should take it with genuine heart from a right source. So these are the qualifications one should have to understand the Vedic knowledge. So in Isopanisad, basically, what we are going to learn that what is our connection with the Supreme and who is Supreme. So when we understand that, then we will learn how to live in harmony with the Supreme. How we can understand the Supreme? What is his vision? How one can perceive that Supreme? That will be described. And how one should approach the right way and what approach we should not take. So that will be described in the verses 9 to 11. And after approaching that Supreme, what is the right way of worshipping him and what way we should not worship him? That is described in text number 12 and 14. And then one should pray to that Supreme to reveal to us, So those prayers of a practitioner, it is given in text number 15 to 18. So this is the flow, living in harmony with Isha. Isha means Supreme Lord. So that is invocation one, text number 1 to 3. The spiritual vision of understanding Isha, that is text 4 to 8. Material and spiritual knowledge for approaching Isha, that is 9 to 11. Right and wrong worship of Isha, that is 12 to 14. Praying to Isha to reveal himself, that is text number 15 to 18. So now we will chant the invocation prayer. Namada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because He is completely perfect, all emanations from Him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because He is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from Him, He remains a complete balance. So one of you please read the purport.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Purport.
Yes.
The complete whole or the supreme absolute truth is complete personality of Godhead. Realization of impersonal Brahman of Paramatma. The super soul is incomplete realization of the absolute complete. The supreme personality of Godhead is Satchidananda Vigraha. Realization of impersonal Brahman is realization of his Sat feature or his accept of eternity. And Paramatma realization is realization of his Sat and Chit features. His accepts of eternity and knowledge. But realization of the personality of Godhead realization of all transcendental features, Sat, Chit and Ananda, bliss. When one realizes the Supreme Person, he realizes these accepts of the absolute truth in their completeness. Vigraha means form. Thus, the complete whole is not formless. If he were formless or if he were less than his creation in any other way, he couldn't be complete. The complete whole must contain everything both within and beyond our experience. Otherwise, he can't be complete. A complete whole, the personality of Godhead has immense potencies, all of which are as complete as he is. Thus, his phenomenal world is also complete in itself. The 24 elements of which this material universe is a temporary manifestation are arranged to produce everything necessary for the maintenance and subsistence of this universe. No other unit in the universe need make an extraordinary effort to try to maintain the universe. The universe functions on its own time scale, which is fixed by the energy of complete whole. And when that schedule is completed, this temporary manifestation will be annihilated by all the facilities are given to the small complete units, namely the living beings, to enable them to realize the complete whole. All forms of incompleteness are experienced due to the incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. The human form of life is a complete manifestation of the consciousness of the living being, and it is obtained after evolving through 84 lakhs species of life in the cycle of birth and death. If in this human life of full consciousness, the living entity doesn't realize this completeness in relation to the complete whole, he loses the chance to realize his completeness and is again put into the evolutionary cycle by the law of material nature. Because we don't know that there is a complete arrangement in nature for our maintenance, we make efforts to utilize the resource of nature to create a so-called complete life for sense enjoyment, because the living entity can't enjoy the life of the senses without being devastated with the complete whole. The misleading life of sense enjoyment is illusion. The hand of a body is complete unit only as long as it is attached to the complete body. When the hand is severed from the body, it may appear like a hand, but it actually has none of the potency of a hand. Similarly, living beings are part and parcel of the complete whole, and if they are served from the complete whole, the illusionary representation of completeness can't be fully satisfy them. The completeness of human life can be realized only when one engaged in the service of complete whole. All services in this world, whether social, political, communal, international, or even interplanetary, will remain incomplete until they are devastated with the complete whole. When everything is devastated with the complete whole, the attached parts and parcel also become complete in themselves. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
So here, Prabhupada is describing the invocation. So this verse is a basis for all other verses. So the verses which are describing about Supreme Lord, who is that Supreme Lord? That has been described here. So the Supreme Lord is complete. He has no deficiency within him. That personality is called as a Supreme Lord. He has produced whatever he has produced, that all things are complete. And by producing so many things, he has not reduced. He remains as he was. So that person is called as a supreme person. That is a personality of Godhead. So even he has produced material world, that material world also is complete. And he has produced innumerable living entities. They are also complete. So if any one of them try to enjoy not in relation with the Supreme, then they will be incomplete. Their enjoyment will be incomplete. That's why engaging in the service of Supreme Personality Godhead is a completeness of a living entity's existence. And this facility is awarded to human beings because their consciousness is completely matured. They are called as a Purna Viksit. Their consciousness is completely developed. So after developing complete consciousness, if one is not engaging in the complete towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he is incomplete in the matter of spirituality. If he thinks that he is a matter, and if he tries to engage in material things, material world, he will not get complete satisfaction. And in that developed human beings, although some are trying to understand God, they are trying to become transcendentalists. Till the time they don't realize God as a Bhagavan, their spiritual understanding is incomplete. Because Lord is Satchidanand Vigraha. To know as a person will give us satisfaction. And that is a perfection of spiritual endeavors. But if somebody realizes God only in Sat form, or his Satchit form, that is Brahman is Sat, only he realizes Brahman aspect of the Lord, then his spiritual understanding is not complete. If he realizes only Sat and Chit, qualities of the Lord, that is Paramatma realization. So that is also not complete. But human beings, when they realize the Bhagavan aspect of Supreme Lord, which is a complete Satchidananda, that understanding is a complete understanding, and by understanding that, a human being's existence becomes complete, and he will not remain in material enjoyments which are incomplete, but he will raise himself to the spiritualities, to the spiritual level, and then his existence becomes complete. So, due to ignorance, one gets illusioned, one commits sinful activities, and he gets stuck up in this material world. But when one practices spirituality, when one understands that I am spirit soul and I am part and parcel of Supreme Lord, and my duty is to serve that complete, then only my existence becomes complete. So this understanding, when one develops, and how is that Supreme Lord, that also is described here. He is such a personality. From him, so many worlds are created. Like Mahavishnu creates Brahmandas, and Supreme Lord from Krishna, the Chaturvyus, and like that the Vaikuntha planets are all are created, and every planet is complete. So that way, when one gets complete understanding, then one will begin to practice devotional service. So that is the invocation here about the Supreme Lord, how he is. He is a complete whole. So now we will go to next verse. Mantra 1. Ishavasidam sarvam yatkinchit charatam jagat tena taktena bhunjeta mavrudha kasya sviddhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things unnecessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota. And one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Hare Krishna. Somebody can read it?
Shall I read, Prabhu? Can I read, Prabhu?
Yes.
Vedic knowledge is infallible because it comes down through the perfect disciplic succession of spiritual masters, beginning with the Lord himself. Since he spoke the first word of Vedic knowledge, the source of this knowledge is transcendental. The words spoken by the Lord are called apaurisaya, which indicates that they are not delivered by any mundane person.
A living being who lives in the mundane world has 4 defects. He is certain to commit mistakes. He is subject to illusion. He has a propensity to cheat others. And his senses are imperfect. No one with these 4 imperfections can deliver perfect knowledge. The Vedas are not produced by such an imperfect creature. Vedic knowledge was originally imparted by the Lord into the heart of Brahma, the first created living being, and Brahma, in his turn, disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples, who have handed it down through history. Since the Lord is Purnam, all perfect, there is no possibility of his being subject to the laws of material nature, which he controls. However, both the living entities and inanimate objects are controlled by the laws of nature and ultimately by the Lord's potency. This Isopanisad is part of the Yajurveda and consequently it contains information concerning the proprietorship of all things existing within the universe. The Lord's proprietorship over everything within the universe is confirmed in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 7.4 to 5, where para and apara, prakriti, are discussed. The elements of nature, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, all belong to the Lord's inferior material energy, apara prakriti, whereas the living being, the organic energy, is the superior energy, para prakriti. Both of these prakritis or energies are emanations from the Lord, and ultimately He is the controller of everything that exists. There is nothing in the universe that does not belong to either the para or the apara prakriti. Therefore, everything is the property of the Supreme Being. Because the Supreme Being, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the complete person, He has complete and perfect intelligence to adjust everything by means of His different potencies. The Supreme Being is often compared to a fire, and everything organic and inorganic is compared to the heat and light of that fire. Just as fire distributes energy in the form of heat and light, the Lord displays His energy in different ways. He thus remains the ultimate controller, sustainer, and dictator of everything. He is the possessor of all potencies, the knower of everything, and the benefactor of everyone. He is full of inconceivable opulence, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is proprietor of anything. One should accept only those things that are set aside by the Lord as his quota. The cow, for instance, gives milk, but she does not drink that milk. She eats grass and straw, and her milk is designated as food for human beings. Such is the arrangement of the Lord. Thus we should be satisfied with those things He has kindly set aside for us, and we should always consider to whom those things we possess actually belong. Take, for example, our dwelling, which is made of earth, wood, stone, iron, cement, and so many other material things. If we think in terms of Sri Isopanisad, we must know that we cannot produce any of these building materials ourselves. We can simply bring them together and transform them into different shapes by our labor. A laborer cannot claim to be a proprietor of thing just because he has worked hard to manufacture it. In modern society, there is always a great quarrel between the laborers and the capitalists. This quarrel has taken an international shape and the world is in danger. Men face one another in enmity and snarl just like cats and dogs. Sri Isopanisad cannot give advice to the cats and dogs, but it can deliver the message of Godhead to man through the bona fide acharyas, holy teachers. The human race should take the Vedic wisdom of Sri Isopanisad and not quarrel over material possessions. One must be satisfied with whatever privileges are given to him by the mercy of the Lord. There can be no peace if the communists or capitals or any other party claims proprietorship over the resources of nature, which are entirely the property of the Lord. The capitalists cannot curb the communists simply by political maneuvering, nor can the communists defeat the capitalists simply by fighting for stolen bread. If they do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the property they claim to be their own is stolen. Consequently, they will be liable to punishment by the laws of nature. Nuclear bombs are in the hands of both communists and capitalists, and if both do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord, it is certain that these bombs will ultimately ruin both parties. Thus, in order to save themselves and bring peace to the world, both parties must follow the instructions of Sri Isopanisad. Human beings are not meant to quarrel like cats and dogs. They must be intelligent enough to realize the importance and aim of human life. The Vedic literature is meant for humanity and not for cats and dogs. Cats and dogs can kill other animals for food without incurring sin. If a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste buds, he is responsible for breaking the laws of nature. Consequently, he must be punished. The standard of life for human beings cannot be applied to animals. The tiger does not eat rice and wheat or drink cow's milk because he has been given food in the shape of animal flesh. Among the many animals and birds, some are vegetarian and others are carnivorous, but none of them transgress the laws of nature, which have been ordained by the will of Lord. Animals, birds, reptiles, and other lower life forms strictly adhere to the laws of nature. Therefore, there is no question of sin for them, nor are the Vedic instructions meant for them. Human life alone is a life of responsibility. It is wrong, however, to think that simply by becoming a vegetarian one can avoid transgressing the laws of nature. Vegetables also have life, and while it is nature's law that one living being is meant to feed on another, for human beings the point is to recognize the Supreme Lord. Thus, one should not be proud of being a strict vegetarian. Animals do not have developed consciousness by which to recognize the Lord, but a human being is sufficiently intelligent to take lessons from the Vedic literature and thereby know how the laws of nature are working and derive profit out of such knowledge. If a man neglects the instructions of the Vedic literature, his life becomes very risky. A human being is therefore required to recognize the authority of the Supreme Lord and become his devotee. He must offer everything for the Lord's service and partake only of the remnants of the food offered to the Lord. This will enable him to discharge his duty properly. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.26, the Lord directly states that he accepts vegetarian food from the hands of a pure devotee. Therefore, a human being should not only become a strict vegetarian, but should also become a devotee of the Lord. Offer the Lord all his food and then partake of such prasadam or the mercy of God. Only those who act in this way can properly discharge the duties of human life. Those who do not offer their food to the Lord eat nothing but sin and subject themselves to various types of distress, which are the results of the sin. Bhagavad Gita 3.13. The root of the sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. Disobeying the laws of nature or the order of the Lord brings ruin to a human being. Conversely, one who is sober, who knows the laws of nature, and who is not influenced by unnecessary attachment or aversion is sure to be recognized by the Lord and thus become eligible to go back to Godhead, back to the eternal home. Hare Krishna.
So this is a mantra 1. Accept only your quota. So in this purport, Prabhupada is telling the glory of Vedic knowledge. So Vedic knowledge is not manufactured by man. That's why it doesn't have these 4 defects. It is coming from Supreme Lord. So this Vedic knowledge, if one follows, then he can do ultimate benefit to his existence. And then he goes on telling that Supreme Lord, he owns everything, because everything has came from him. So he is a proprietor for these things. Like we hire some carpenter, or we give contract to some builder. Their duty gets over as soon as they complete their work. Like laborer, he is making a house for the owner. Owner is providing him all the raw materials. He is just putting his energy and he is making the house. So that doesn't make him a proprietor. So same way, we should understand that in my existence, I have not produced anything. So I cannot claim that I am proprietor of these things. So there must be somebody as a proprietor. So who is that proprietor? That has been explained in this verse. So this proprietor is Ishavasyan. So he is a proprietor for everything. Whatever we can perceive and we cannot perceive, that is his property. And in that, we also are included. So Lord is proprietor of everything. Then Prabhupada describes that how he is a proprietor of apara and para prakriti, the living entity and the elements of material energy. The both are under the control of the Lord. So here, a living entity should realize that I am not proprietor. The proprietor there. So scriptures mention that Krishna is a proprietor. If Lord is proprietor, then what is the role of a living entity? Living entity should realize that I am not a proprietor. Then who am I? If I am not proprietor, then who am I? So the living entity has to understand that he is owned by the Supreme Lord. This knowledge, when one gets that he is owned by the Supreme Lord, then his struggle for existence is completed. He will not struggle. So when we understand our relation with the Supreme Lord, then we will not struggle for existence. But as soon as we forget that our connection with the Supreme Lord, then the struggle begins. Like some child who is a son of a great millionaire, but he is on the street and he has forgotten his relation of that millionaire. As long as he forgets his relation with the millionaire, he will struggle on the street for his bread and butter. But as soon as he will realize he belongs to that millionaire, his struggle for existence is over. So the ignorance gives us sinful tendencies to gratify our senses, and it keeps us away from the service of Supreme Lord. So this knowledge of Krishna's proprietorship, when it awakens, then we understand that Lord has created me, and for my existence he has given me something. And whatever he has given me, let me take that with a gratitude, and not only enjoy it, but offer it back to Supreme Lord. So he only has given me, and I acknowledge that he has given me, and I in return want to offer it to Lord. Then that process is a complete, and that becomes a devotional service. But if one forgets that his relation with the Supreme, and he is not satisfied with whatever he has possessed, then what he will like to do? He will like to attack on others' given quota, and he wants to grab their property. And in that way, he will create only a dissatisfaction, and that is, that will lead to sinful life. So this responsibility of human life we should understand. And when we realize that my connection is with the Supreme Lord and he is a proprietor of everything, so what is the best? To own something temporary and little bit, that is better, or to understand that I am related to the Supreme Lord who possesses everything? As soon as you accept Lord as yours, then what happens? Then your anxiety will get over. You know that Lord will take care of me. And when one develops a relationship with the Supreme Lord, then whatever is related to Supreme Lord becomes, he also becomes related to that everything. Like son, when he develops attachment to his father, then whatever father possesses, that he inherits without any difficulty. But if he breaks his relation with the father, then he has to struggle for his basic needs also. So that's why this understanding of Supreme Proprietor of the Lord and my connection with that Supreme Lord will give us peace and happiness. If that relation we don't awaken, then we will struggle even no matter whatever we possess. That will not give us satisfaction. Because we will always have the fear of losing the things. And there is always anxiety to get more from others. So like that, one will remain dissatisfied throughout his life. And at the end of life, he will feel very sorry that everything will be taken away from him. And because of this sinful tendency of gratifying his senses, not spiritually but materially, he is trying to disrobe or take away the things from others, which is binding him, will give him a lot of pain in this life and in the next life also. So that's why this verse is very important for spiritualists to understand that everything belongs to God. Even I also belong to God. If I develop my relation with the Supreme Lord, then everything what he possesses, then that also will be, I will also have relation with all those things. So whatever Krishna's, that becomes devotees. And that's why devotees, they say, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. For devotees, every living entity is a family. For him, everything becomes, Lord's creation becomes his home. He will not have any duality. It's mine, that is theirs. He will know that everything belongs to Lord. So this broad-mindedness will stop him from committing sins. He will not encroach others, God-given, positions. He will not take away from them. So that way, he will be peaceful, what God has given to him. And not only that, whatever God has given to him, he will like to offer it to Supreme Lord. Then that will give him eternal benefit, spiritual benefit. So that his enjoyments will become not sense gratification, but that will become prasad. So that's why a pure devotee, he offers everything to the Lord and he accepts it as a mercy of the Lord And because of this attitude, he will not like to take away others' God-given quota. He will be happy with his own quota. And because he is not grabbing others' quota, he is not committing sin. So Krishna is proprietor. Who says that Lord is proprietor? So Vedas are saying it. And Brahmaji is also concluding that everything belongs to Supreme Lord. So he controls everything. Not only material, spiritual, everything is under the control of the Lord. Then living entity's role. What is the living entity's role? He is not proprietor. He cannot claim. He is just inherited. He has not produced anything. So, if he wants to become peaceful, then he has to understand that I belong to Supreme Lord and I have relation with the Supreme Lord. As soon as that relation is awakened, he will be at peace and he will not create violence towards others. He will not commit sin by enjoying anything independently to the Supreme Lord. And because of enjoying independently, he will be punishable. So then how he will act? When he realizes that I am not proprietor, Lord is proprietor, and I have connection with the Supreme Lord, then his sambandha will develop. That whatever Lord has given me, that is also not to be enjoyed. Like we have given a quota of eating fruits, roots, all those things. But that is not sufficient. It's not greatness of one's to become just a vegetarian. But what he has to do? He has to offer it to Supreme Lord. So that is Abhidhe. One learns to offer whatever God has given to him. And by that, what will happen? He will be peaceful in life. And this practice of offering it to Supreme Lord will make him eligible to go back to where everybody offers to Supreme Lord. Every living entity in the spiritual world, they keep Krishna as a center. Jivara Swarupa Krishna Nityadas. So they act, in this mood. So that place is called a spiritual world. And if this mood we develop in this world also, so this world also will be, help us to go back toward it in this world. So in this verse, basically, we learn that Krishna is proprietor of everything. And Lord has given us a quota because for everyone he has given a quota. He's so magnanimous that he gives facilities even to the people who are rebellious. Like government, they give facility to the good citizens also, and they create a facility for bad citizens also. Those citizens who don't follow the laws, those who do crime and all, they are put in jail. But in jail also they have food. In jail also they get some facilities to live, exist. So like that, even in material world, those who are rebellious, for them also Lord has given something to enjoy. But human life should reawaken that, this life which I have got is meant to realize my connection with the Supreme Lord. Because other species, they may not have this facility to understand that who is supreme and what is proprietorship and all those things. But human beings can understand. And once they understand, then they will become detached from gratifying their senses by, exploiting the resources. Rather, they will utilize these resources in the service of the Lord, and that way they will make their life perfect, and by that they can go back to Godhead. So they will avoid sinful, they will not commit sins. So when we'll commit sin, when we try to encroach on others' property, that will become sin. So that way a devotee will progress from committing sins to committing to practice devotional service. So that way he will be uplifted. So that's why the first step one has to understand that this whole creation is made by Supreme Lord, and I am also included in that. So what is my duty in this creation? So that way one should understand, and one should avoid committing sins. So this is the essence of this verse. Now we'll go to next verse. कुर्वन्नेह कर्माणि जिजीविषेशतं समा एवं त्वयि नान्यथोस्ति न कर्म लिप्यते नरे. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. Yes.
May I read,
Somebody can...
Prabhuji?
Yes.
May I read, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna.
Yes.
No one wants to die. Everyone wants to live as long as he can drag on. This tendency is visible not only individually but also collectively in the community, society, and nation. There is a hard struggle for life by all kinds of living entities, and the Vedas say that this is quite natural. The living being is eternal by nature, but due to his bondage in the material existence, he has to change his body over and over. This process is called transmigration of the soul or karma bandhana, bondage by one's work. The living entity has to work for his livelihood because that is the law of material nature. And if he does not act according to his prescribed duties, he transgresses the laws of nature and binds himself more and more to the cycle of birth and death in the many species of life. Other life forms are also subject to the cycle of birth and death. But when the living entity attains a human life, he gets a chance to get free from the chain of karma. Karma, akarma, and vikarma are very clearly described in the Bhagavad Gita. Actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma. And actions that are performed through the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower life forms are called vikarma. Of these three types of actions, that which frees one from the bondage to karma is preferred by intelligent men. Ordinary men wish to perform good work in order to be recognized and achieve some higher status of life in this world or in heaven, but more advanced men want to be free altogether from the actions and reactions of birth. Intelligent men well know that both good and bad work equally bind one to the material miseries. Consequently, they seek that work which will free them from the reactions of both good and bad work. Such liberating work is described here in the pages of Sri Isopanisad. The instructions of Sri Isopanisad are more elaborately explained in the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes called the Gita Upanishad, the cream of all the Upanishads. In the Bhagavad Gita 3.9 to 16, the personality of Godhead says that one cannot attain the state of Naiskarmanya or Akarma without executing the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedic literature. This literature can regulate the working energy of a human being in such a way that he can gradually realize the authority of the Supreme Being. When he realizes the authority of the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, or Krishna, it is to be understood that he has attained the stage of positive knowledge. In this purified stage, the modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, cannot act, and he is able to work on the basis of nice karma. Such work does not bind one to the cycle of birth and death. Actually, no one has to do anything more than render devotional service to the Lord. However, in the lower stages of life, one cannot immediately adopt the activities of devotional service, nor can one completely stop fruitive work. A conditioned soul is accustomed to working for sense gratification for his own selfish interest, immediate or extended. An ordinary man works for his own sense enjoyment, and when this principle of sense enjoyment is extended to include his society, nation, or humanity in general, it assumes various attractive names such as altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, and humanitarianism. These isms are certainly very attractive forms of karma bandhana, karmic bondage. But the Vedic instruction of Sri Isopanisad is that if one actually wants to live for any of the above isms, he should make them God-centered. There is no harm in becoming a family man or an altruist or socialist, a communist, a nationalist, or a humanitarian, provided that one executes his activities in relation with Isavasya, the God-centered conception. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.40, Lord Krishna says that God centered activities are so valuable that just a few of them can save a person from the greatest danger. The greatest danger of life is the danger of gliding down again into the evolutionary cycle of birth and death among the 84 lakh species. If somehow or other a man misses the spiritual opportunity afforded by his human form of life and falls down again into the evolutionary cycle, he must be considered most unfortunate. Due to his defective senses, a foolish man cannot see that this is happening. Consequently, Sri Ishopanishad advises us to exert our energy in the spirit of Ishavasya. Being so engaged, we may wish to live for many, many years. Otherwise, a long life in itself has no value. A tree lives for hundreds and hundreds of years, but there is no point in living a long time like trees, or breathing like bellows, or begetting children like hogs and dogs, or eating like camels. Humble God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal hopes of a life dedicated to the godless altruism or socialism. When altruistic activities are executed in the spirit of Sri Ishopanishad, they become a form of karma yoga. Such activities are recommended in the Bhagavad Gita 18.5 to 9. For they guarantee their executor protection from the danger of sliding down into the evolutionary process of birth and death. Even though such God-centered activities may be half finished, they are still good for the executor because they will guarantee him a human form in his next birth. In this way, one can have another chance to improve his position on the path of liberation. How one can execute God-centered activities is elaborately explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. We have rendered this book into English as the Nectar of Devotion. We recommend this valuable book to all who are interested in performing their activities in the spirit of Sri Ishopanishad. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
So this is mantra 2, where we are learning the art of practicing this Ishavasana principle in our day-to-day life. So this attitude of one's relation with the Supreme Lord, when one realizes and one lives in the manner of subordinate to Supreme Lord, such a life one can, even if he lives for hundreds of years, will not implicate him in bondage. But one acts differently than this, then even a momentary life also will create complications. Like we purchase some land, suppose, we create a fence to that land and we put a board there that this land belongs to so and so person. If anybody is trespasses, he will be prosecuted. Like that, people put a board there, But actually, this land, he is thinking that I possess this land. This is my property. But if he thinks little more deep, then he will realize that I am passer. Because this land belongs originally to Supreme Lord. So if we don't understand the original owner of that land and we trespass it by thinking that I am the owner, then we will be prosecuted. So a devotee, he realizes the original owner of everything, that's the Supreme Lord. And if we get owned by the Supreme Lord, then we inherit the property of the father. Like a son inherits directly whatever the father has a property, that becomes child's property. So same way, when we develop our relation with the Supreme Lord, then we also become inherent. We get this whole entire creation in inheritance, but we will not gratify it for a sinful purposes. Rather, we will utilize it in Lord's pleasure. So that's why for devotee, the whole world is a place which can be offered to Supreme Lord. So we do activities, whether we are devotees or where somebody who is not devotee, they all are doing activities. But the activities, we should always see, are they binding me? So there are two bindings. One is karma and the second is vikarma. If we do very pious activities, then they produce pious results. So that is also binding, because we have to enjoy the results, the pious results. If somebody does some dhan, somebody does some charity, somebody does some social work, somebody does something good for others, rather than gratifying his senses, he is trying to serve others. So that is going in the category of punya. That is karma. He is doing a positive activity. And because of that positive activity, he is getting a balance of positive piety. And when he dies, then that piety he has to, the piety will be rewarded to him. Then what is that piety how he will enjoy? He will go to some heavenly planets and he has to enjoy that, life. And as soon as the piety gets over, then he comes to material world. And if he does opposite activities which are vikarma, which are sinful, then his sinful account will increase and he will be punished in the lower planetary system for his sinful actions. And once his sinful quota gets over, then again he comes to material world. So the karma and vikarma, they both are binding. One is golden chain and another is iron chain. Both are binding only. So we should not stuck up in this karma and vikarma thing. What one has to do? One has to do akarma. Akarma is a devotional service. The activities which are meant for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, then that activities will not bind us, or those activities will not result in piety or impiety. Those activities will not give us heavenly planets or hellish planets. Those activities directly they will take us back to Godhead, to the abode of the Supreme Lord. So this is a working, this is a way of living of a devotee. In that mood, one lives. He lives in a way that will not karmane lipyate. These activities will not bind him. So that is a solution from getting out of the cycle of birth and death. So which activities will not bind us? Those are spiritual activities. And what are the spiritual activities? Prabhupada tells here that are mentioned in Nectar of Devotion. That what one has to do. If you water many plants, that is a piety. But if you offer water to Tulsi plant, that is spirituality. If you give charity to many organizations, that will lead us to piety. But if we offer our for Krishna consciousness, if we spend money for deities, if we spend money for devotees, then that will not be a material piety, mundane piety, but that is a spiritual piety. So like that, any activity which appears equal to pious activity, but there is a thin line difference for whom we are doing it. So in Vedas, the Karmakanda section is there where we can enjoy material life, life after life without surrendering to God and not get punished in hellish planet. So that Karmakanda section is given, that how you go to heaven, what it will take you to heavenly planets. And people are going heavenly planet and they're coming down. They are going heavenly planet, they're coming down. So this is going on and on and on. So to crack this loop of heaven and hell, one should perform devotional service. And devotional service is not a mental concoction that we think whatever we do that is devotional. No. It has to be in accordance with the Shastra. It has to be according to the words of pure devotees. It has to be according to the will of the Supreme. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranit. What Supreme Lord has told, that path one has to lead and live accordingly. So that way one should practice devotional service life after life. And that practice of devotional service will not bind him to any of this karma or vikarma bondage. So this has been mentioned in the text number 2. Okay. Now we'll go to text number 3. असुर्या नाम ते लोका अंधेन tamasa vrata taste प्रत्याभिगच्छन्ति eke chatmano jana. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. Yes.
Can I read, Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Purport. Human life is distinguished from animal life due to his heavy responsibilities. Those who are cognizant of these responsibilities and who work in that spirit are called suras, godly persons. And those who are neglectful of these responsibilities or who have no information of them are called asuras, demons. Throughout the universe, there are only these two types of human beings. In a Rig Veda, it is stated that the suras always aim at the lotus feet of Supreme Lord Vishnu and act accordingly. Their ways are as illuminated as the path of sun. Intelligent human beings must always remember that soul obtains a human form after an evolution of many millions of years in cycle of transmigration. The material world is sometimes compared to an ocean, and the human body is compared to a solid boat designed especially to cross this ocean. The Vedic scripture and the acharyas or saintly teachers are compared to expert boatmen, and the facilities of the human body are compared to the favorable breezes that help the boat ply smoothly to its desired destination. If, with all these facilities, a human being doesn't fully utilize his life for self realization, he must be considered an Atmaha, a killer of the soul. Isopanisad warns in clear terms that the killer of soul is destined to enter into the darkest region of ignorance to suffer perpetually. There are swine, dogs, camels, asses, etc., whose economic necessities are just as important to them as ours are to us. But the economic problems of these animals are solved only under nasty and unpleasant conditions. The human being is given all facilities for a comfortable life by the laws of nature because the human form of life is more important and valuable than animal life. Why is a man given a better life than that of swine and other animals? Why is highly placed government servant given better facilities than those of an ordinary clerk? The answer is that highly placed officer has to discharge duties of higher nature. Similarly, the duties human beings have to perform are higher than those of animal who are Prabhuji, can you please scroll? Who are always engaged in simply feed. No, that line is gone. Prabhu, little down. Ah, okay, who are always engaged in simply feeding their hungry stomach. Yet the modern soul killing civilization has only increased the problems of a hungry stomach. When we approached a polished animal in the form of modern civilized man and ask him to take interest in self-realization, he will say that he simply wants to work to satisfy his stomach and that there is no need of self-realization for a hungry man. The laws of nature are so cruel, however, that despite this denunciation of the need of self-realization and his eagerness to work hard to fill his stomach, he is always threatened by the unemployment. We are given the human forms of life not to work hard like asses, swine, and dogs, but to attain the highest perfection of life. If we do not care for the self realization, the laws of nature force us to work very hard, even though we may not want to do so. Human beings in this age have been forced to work hard like the asses and bullocks that pull carts. Some of the reasons where asuras are sent to work are revealed in the words of Isopanisad. If a man fails to discharge his duties as a human being, he is forced to transmigrate to the Asuras planet and take birth in degraded species of life to work hard in ignorance and darkness. In the Bhagavad Gita 6.41.43, it is stated that man who enters upon the path of self-realization but doesn't complete the process, despite having sincerely tried to realize his relationship with God, is given a chance to appear in family of Suchi or Srimad. The word Suchi indicates a spiritually advanced Brahmana, and Srimad indicates a Vaishya, a member of a mercantile community. So the person who fails to achieve self-realization is given a better chance in his next life due to his sincere efforts in this life. If we even fallen a fall if we even a fallen candidate is given a chance to take birth in a respectable and noble family, one can hardly imagine the status of one who has achieved success. By simply attempting to realize God, one is guaranteed birth in wealthy or aristocratic family. But those who do not even make an attempt, who want to be covered by illusion, who are too materialistic and too attached to material enjoyment, must enter into a darkest region of hell, as confirmed throughout the Vedic literature. Such materialistic asuras sometimes make a show of religion, but their ultimate aim is material prosperity. The Bhagavad Gita 16.17-18 rebukes such men by calling them Arma Sambhavita, meaning that they are considered great only on the strength of deception and are empowered by the votes of ignorant and by their own material wealth. Such asuras, devoid by self-realization and knowledge of Ishvashya and Lord's universal proprietorships, are certain to enter into the darkest region. The conclusion is that human beings, we are meant not only simply for solving economic problems on a tottering platform, but for solving all the problems of material life into which we have been placed by the laws of nature. Hare Krishna.
So this is the text, the 3. It is indicating that who are the killer of souls, and such a people where they enter. So the soul's life is service to Krishna. If soul is not getting service to Krishna, then that soul is, lifeless. Means, although soul cannot be cannot be killed by anything. But if soul is not getting chance to serve Krishna, then spiritually the soul is not live. It is not living. So such a enjoyment of material life away from spirituality is a soul killing business. So whether you are in heavenly planets or hellish planets, if one is not remembering Krishna, then he is killing his soul. If people are gratifying their senses, any place, whether it's a heaven or hell, they are killing their soul. So life for a devotee is service to Krishna. If anything is keeping us away from Krishna's service, then that situation is dead. We are dead, spiritually dead there. So such a people who are not engaging their soul in Krishna's service, they are entering in deep, dark hell. And that hell is known as Asurya. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentioned in 16.6, Do bhut sargo lokesmin Daiva asura evacha daivo vistarasa proktam asuram pathame shrunu. So Lord is telling that in this world there are two kinds of people. One are called divine and other are demonic. So the divine people will follow the laws of the nature, laws given by the Lord. And demoniac they will break the laws and they will live independently and they will suffer. So here two kinds of people are mentioned, godly and demonic. So who are godly people? What are they called? Their aim and why should be godly? And demonic people also the same questions. And what are their destinations? And it is mentioned in this verse. So before that, we should understand this human form is very, very important. It has a purpose. Like somebody gets a Mercedes Benz, it has a purpose. So if you take a Mercedes Benz and go in farm and you tilt the land of the farmland by using Mercedes Benz, then what people will say? Say, Arey, what you are using? You use tractor for this thing, tilting farm. Mercedes Benz not meant for tilting farm. So any ordinary person will give this advice to that person. So when saintly people see us, we are utilizing the human body for animal tendencies, then they will feel sympathy for us. That this human life which can award you love Godhead, but you are not utilizing it, you are killing your own soul. That's what the spiritualists will say. So those who got human form of life, which is so rare, if people are not utilizing it for God consciousness and they are utilizing it for like animal enjoyments, then they are practically not engaging their soul in God service. They are suffocating their soul's natural tendencies to serve Krishna. So it is as good as killing the soul. So human life is so important. So here this is verse from 11th canto 9th chapter 20th verse. सृष्ट्वा पुराणि विधान्य जयात्मशक्त्या वृक्षान् सरिस्पृशपशून् खगदन्धशूकान् तैस्तैर्तुष्टहृदया पुरुषं निविधाय ब्रह्मावलोकधिषणं बुधमापदेव. Somebody can read the translation.
Prabhuji, can I read? Prabhu?
Yes.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, expanding his own potency, Maya Shakti, created innumerable species of life to house the conditioned souls. Yet by creating the forms of trees, reptiles, animals, birds, snakes, and so on, the Lord was not satisfied within his heart. Then he created human life, which offers the conditioned soul sufficient intelligence to perceive the absolute truth and become pleased. Hare Krishna.
The Lord created so many species, but he was not satisfied. And he created human life. So Lord expects from human that they will come to their senses. They will not gratify their senses like animals or reptiles or trees, but rather they will utilize this human form of life in the service of the Lord. And that will give a pleasure to Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we should check, are we pleasing Supreme Personality of Godhead? The God has given us a human body. Are we engaging it in service of Lord? Or we are doubting it in the enjoyments which are available for trees, reptiles, animals, birds, snakes. So that we should always check. So that will decide whether we are acting like a sura or asura. So devotees are not even interested in Sura activities. We are not interested in going heavenly planets. But we are interested in a devotional practice. We are interested to act like a bhakta, or pure devotee. So godly people, who are godly people? Those who are cognizant of responsibility and work in that spirit. So they are called as suras. Their aim is to go back to Godhead. And why we should be godly? Because human life is rare. This body is meant for some higher purpose, like government officer, not like clerk. And this human life can solve the problem of birth and death, which we can go back to the spiritual world. Then who are the asuras then? So asuras are the people who are neglectful of human responsibility. They are called as asuras, atmahas, atmasambhava. Why are they called? Atma means despite of all facilities in human life, they are not utilizing it in spiritual activities. Atmasambhava, considered great on strength of deceptive and empowered by votes of ignorant and own wealth. And what are their characteristics? They act like religious. They don't even make attempt for pleasing God. And they're attached to material enjoyments. So Prabhupada is telling this whole modern civilization is called a soul-killing civilization. People are very rich materially, but spiritually they are very poor. People are very intelligent materially, but they are very ignorant in spirituality. So that kind of civilization is just called as a soul-killing civilization. So these asuras, these demonic people, what is their mentality? That has been described in Padma Purana. अर्चे विष्णु शिलाधीर गुरुषु नरमतिर वैष्णवे जाति बुद्धिर विष्णुर्वार वैष्णवानाम कलिमल मथने पाद तीर्थें बुद्धिस श्री विष्णुर नामनी मंत्रे सकल कलुषो ये शब्द सामान्य बुद्धिर विष्णु सर्वेश्वरे तत् इतर समधीर यस्य वा नारकीसा. So who is a resident of hell? That person's qualities are mentioned in this verse. Somebody can read this?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, may I read?
Yes.
No one should consider the deity in the temple to be made of stone or wood, nor should one consider the spiritual master an ordinary human being. No one should consider a Vaishnava to belong a particular caste or creed, and no one should consider Charanamrita or Ganges water to be like ordinary water, nor should anyone consider the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to be a material vibration. All these expansion of Krishna in the material world are simply demonstrations of the Lord's mercy and willingness to give facility to his devotees who are engaged in his devotional service within the material world. Hare Krishna.
So if we think like this, then we are residents of hell, hellish planets. Who are the hellish planet residents? Those who think deity as a stone. Those who think spiritual master as a human being, ordinary human being. Or those who categorize Vaishnavas, on based upon their color, caste, nationality, or whatever it is. Or Karnamrita is normal water, or one who thinks the holy name is just alphabets of mundane sound, or Krishna is an ordinary god amongst demigods. So such a person's mentality is also a hellish mentality, you know. So those who have divine mentalities, you know, if they are not able to get complete, you know, perfection, so what, you know, what they will achieve? पाप्य पुण्य कृताम लोकान उषित्वा शाश्वती समा सुचिनाम श्रीमताम गेहि योग भ्रष्टो विजायते. If one who is endeavoring on the path of devotion, if he is not successful, then he will be awarded a second chance by getting birth in a pious, you know, Vaishnava family or in rich aristocratic, you know, Vaishya family. So if suppose we have a good family background and we have a good financial background, so we should understand that this is a second chance given to us. We should utilize this facility for the service of Krishna. And if somebody doesn't utilize, he has such a facility, then what happens? If he doesn't engage his good birth for service of Krishna, then that person will engage his good birth for sinful activities, and he will do sins more than a normal person. Like scientists, they have a brain. They have a big brain that they can create a atom bomb. You know, the brain which God has given them to understand Him and go back to Godhead. But that brain, if they are not engaging for Krishna's service, they are doing for mundane research. So such a brain will produce something which will degrade the society in a fast way, you know. So that way they are misutilizing their facility. And if somebody is born in rich family and if he is not devotee of Krishna, then what he will do? You know, like in IT companies, people have big salaries. So what do they do with that money? They will drink and they will waste their money for going here, there, everywhere, not to Temple of Lord. You know. So Krishna has given them money, but they are not utilizing it for Lord service, then they will engage in sinful activities only. So if they would not have any money, then they would have committed less sin. But now they have a lot of money, and that money they will engage in sinful activities. So they will earn more sins by spending this money. So this riches and this high birth, if both are not utilized for Lord's service, then they will become a degrading factor. A person will degrade very badly than an ordinary person who has no facilities. So that's why we should be very careful. If Krishna has given us some facilities, Krishna has given us some intelligence, then we should utilize it for his pleasure. And that way we can complete our devotional service and we can reach back to Godhead. If we are not endeavoring it in this direction, then definitely we are preparing to Asurinama Loka. If somebody is not preparing for back to Godhead, then he is preparing for demoniac planets. So even heavenly planet also is a demonic planet, because where we are not remembering Krishna, that place is a hell for a devotee. Any place where he is forgetting Krishna, that place is hell for him. And any place he is remembering Krishna, even hell also, if suppose he is remembering, then that is not hell. Like Yamaraj is residing in hell, but he is always thinking about Krishna. So he is not in hell, you know. But Nalkur and Manikrit, they are in the heavenly planets, in Mother Ganga, which is called as a Mandakini river, in heavenly abode. But see their activities, they are sons of Kuberas, but their activities are like residents of hell. They are drinking wine and, you know, enjoying with women. And so much so that they are not giving respect to a pure devotee when they happen to sing. So that is the danger of having high birth, beauty, knowledge, and wealth. If we are not utilizing it for Krishna's service, then these opulences will be like a stone tied to our neck and we are thrown in the ocean. So there will be no hope that we will survive. So that's why it is very important that whatever we have, we should try to utilize in Lord service, and especially this human life. Even animals, if they get a chance to associate with the pure devotees, and by their association, by the mercy of pure devotees, such animals also can get spiritual world. They can attain spiritual world. So that is power of spiritual practice. Vaishnava association. They can not only they can make human life perfect, even animal life can be perfected. And there is no doubt about it. Some examples are there in this age, Kali Yuga also. Like there is an elephant. There was an elephant in Guruvar. His name was Keshwar. He was so devoted to the Supreme Lord. From his childhood, he was engaged in the service of the Lord to take the procession, carrying the Lord on his head. So he used to fight. If some other elephants used to get chance, he used to beat them. He used to, pierce them with his tusks. So then they used to give him always a chance to, take the Lord for procession. So he was so much dedicated to the service of the Lord. So when he became old and his body was not cooperating, still he wanted to serve the Lord. And at his final moments, he gave his life for Lord by offering obeisances to the Lord. And that way he died, he completed his service. And the temple authorities were so pleased and so grateful for his service to the Supreme Lord that they put his tusks on the entrance of the temple to show the world that how dedicated devotee of Guruvar he was. So even animal life which is engaged in Lord's service is a victory. Is so complete in itself. But people got human life and they are doing like animals. Then what is where they will go actually? So that's why it's very important that humans should take seriously their this human birth, especially those who are in association with the devotees. They should not slack in performance of devotional service. But we should take this opportunity with lot of care and attention so that we can make our life perfect. Questions any of you have?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you explain the flow from 1 to 3, invocation to 3, please?
So in invocation, we saw the Lord is complete and He is a source of unlimited complete units. Okay? And text 1, that such a complete Lord has given everyone something to enjoy. That quota is given. So if we are satisfied with our own quota, then that is not sin. But if we try to encroach others' quota, then that will be a sin. And in second verse, we learn that whatever quota I have, if I enjoy it to myself, then that will become a karma bandhan. But whatever quota I got, if I utilize it for God's service, then it will not be binding. So that way, a devotee should live, Ishavasim, And in third verse, we saw the people, how they engage their quotas for their selfish purposes. And because of that, they enter in, hellish planets. And because of this attitude, they are called as a soul killers. They are not killing their soul, but the soul's propensity, Jivaraswarapi Krishna Nityadas, that is not getting utilized. So they are designated as a Atmas. They are killing their soul. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So we'll see the next verses tomorrow on Friday. Sorry, Thursday. Okay? Thank you for your kind attention. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam.